and a brand new sponsor. So Rob, maybe you can tell us about yourself and a little bit about your company. And thank you for sponsoring Leaders Connect.
Happy to do so. And thanks for doing this, Rob. Nice to meet everybody this morning. I'm with a family-owned office called the Surnow Company. We're based in Birmingham, Michigan. We're third-generation real estate investors in office and retail real estate that we develop, lease, manage, and hold. And we have some Ann Arbor properties and a lot of properties in Metro Detroit. And we're just looking to connect with more folks who are looking for space and changing their space and trying to fulfill the needs out there of different tenants. And I'm in charge of the family's leasing and property management for all of our portfolio.
So Rob, what kind of space do you have in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Rob. We have a couple of properties in Ann Arbor. Most of them are full, luckily, but we do have a great flex research and development space that has a couple of great tenants, such as Merit Network, which is an Ann Arbor institution who created the internet in the 1960s, essentially, and Center for Automotive Research, which is a great automotive research firm in Ann Arbor who's been there for a long time as well. But we do have anywhere from a 8,000 to a 40,000 square foot availability of flex research and development space in Southern Ann Arbor, pretty close to where Dr. Pasick is, actually.
Well, I might need that 40,000 because I spread my papers out quite a bit. I'm working with it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Happy to accommodate you.
All right. And Mary Christensen, you want to just say hi and do your little elevator pitch here, whatever you got.
Yeah, for what it's worth. And actually what I'm so interested, Rob mentioned Merit Network. And so let me just say, I'm Mary Christensen. I'm a freelance graphic designer, or I was a freelance graphic designer. And in the last 4 years, I've grown and I'm leading a team of 10 or 12 people. Well, maybe it's been 30 years now. One of my first clients was Merit Network, and they asked me to diagram something that connected universities and connected people. And I was thinking, what are you talking about? So that dates me. But yeah, that was the internet that I was trying to illustrate the concept.
Yeah,
amazing. That's great.
So I'm a graphic designer, have worked for years and years with clients in Ann Arbor, many medical manufacturing companies, and the Huron River Watershed Council, which is a favorite of mine. I moved to North Carolina, but I still have ties in Michigan. And most of my work is virtual. I don't actually share my office with anybody. You know, everything is over the internet.
That's the way it is. So Mary, I love your website. I'd like to talk to you about how to make my website do what you're doing, which is that kind of scrolling. It automatically scrolls. I love that. You know. So,
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Take a look at mine and see if you could, what I could do to make it happen like that, because it's pretty cool. Other people might want to look at it. What's it, Christensen Design? Is that what it is?
Exactly. Yeah. Christensen Design.
Yeah. People could put on the chat, by the way, anything they're talking about or their names if you want to be contacted. So please do that. And we have one other, well, Winston, we're going to go in order. And so as far as my screen shows here.
Hi, everybody. Winston Benedict. By background, I'm a technology executive, technology leader, largely working in medium to large corporate environments where I've held chief technology officer and chief information officer positions. You know, my principles largely are driven by the concept that technology really doesn't do anything. It's actually smart people with intelligent processes enabled by technology. So as a leader, I consider myself a steward of the technology budget on behalf of the business and a servant to the business to make sure they get what they need out of that so they actually deliver financial returns on what they invest in. Do that largely by keeping the technology aligned to the business priorities and growing people and mentoring teams and seeing that I enable and self-sustain these teams so they can achieve and thrive. You know, as I work up and grow the scale of the business to make sure that they can get that stuff done at a continual basis once I leave. Just left my last position, starting to look at my some new positions. Also considering maybe going and hanging my own shingle, being a fractional CIO or CTO, where I could help some of these smaller business where they're kind of being hamstrung by the inability to get to the next level, either because they're having process issues, and then subsequently, okay, how do I help enable them? But again, the key principle there is that melding of technology and business together. And I help see that happen.
I like that tagline. Actually, I just read a column, which I'll try to find, and I can put on the chat, of the tech writer for the New York Times is leaving after doing this for a while. And she wrote just about exactly what you said. It's not about the technology, it's about the people that use the technology. So this is her finding after 5 years of writing the column. So
yeah, I have 30 years experience. What I've kind of discovered in that process is the tech actually is the easy part. It's the behavioral changes, the people changes, and are you actually executing the right process? And that's hard. That's very, very hard.
Okay. And then one of our other sponsors is Office Evolution. And David, you say Whitinger or Whittinger?
Whitinger.
Whitinger, okay. So Whitinger, tell us, David's a great guy. We had some nice time over coffee the other day. And today is your happy hour. Is that 4:30? You might want to post that, yeah?
4:55. We start 5 minutes early. So no, so thanks, Rob. I apologize to Marilyn and Winston. I saw both of them less than 12 hours ago. No, I'm the owner of Office Evolution. It's a co-working shared office space. In a nutshell, I have the privilege of being surrounded by startups and entrepreneurial people, and there's a vibe that comes with that. So we have a space in Ann Arbor at 94 and State. We've got 26 individual offices, but I think all in all, we have about 100 to 130 companies represented out of there at this point. Some just addresses. Wow. We have co-working. We made it through COVID okay. I truly enjoy what I do because I'm not a guy with great ideas, but I'm surrounded by people with great ideas, and I get to just be part of that support network, which I find very exciting. So
that's why you're part of this group today. You're surrounded by people with great ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
And David's spot is beautifully located on the corner of Eisenhower and State Street. Big building there. And it's easy to remember because it's 455, right?
455 Eisenhower. If you're not doing anything at 455 today, there's about it's purely organic. You're more than welcome. Everybody kind of sits around, talks about it. It's very positive. It's
so my grandfather used to play the numbers every day in Detroit. Maybe you ought to play that number today. It might be coming up for you.
I'll tell you what, the 455 started during COVID, because what did you do during COVID? You went home at 5 o'clock and you did nothing else.
And 4,555,000 is about your fund for play fund for right now, right?
That's right.
Play money, yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's see who else we got out there. Well, I get Root. Are you on there, Richard Root? I see you, but I can't hear you. I don't hear Richard, but Richard, we'll get back. Hello, Hermelinda. Now I see your camera. How you doing?
You're on
your mic on, Hermelinda.
I'm doing great, thank you. Hi, Dr.
Good.
Rob. Hi, everyone.
So you want to introduce yourself? We're doing real quick go arounds here before we get into the program. So this is the connect part of the program.
All right, so I'm Hermelinda. I work in healthcare. Worked in healthcare for 35 years, but my passion is health coaching and fitness. So that's what I do. That's my I guess you could call it a side hustle business. And I'm just enjoying life right now, roller skating, learning to play guitar, and just keeping myself physically and mentally active. So
cool. Hermelinda, when you said you've been in this for 35 years and you're a health and fitness coach, I think you're your own best commercial because you don't look like you'd possibly be doing this for 35 years. You don't look like you're much over than 35. So how do you do that? Unless
Well,
you got into this as a newborn, right? Is that what it is?
yeah, I actually have, well, my youngest is graduating this year and my oldest son's going to be 28. So
Wow.
we're going to be empty nesters at some point, but I don't think it'll be soon though.
Great. Richard, are you there now? Still don't hear Richard. Okay. Yvette, good morning.
Good morning. How's everyone this morning?
We can kind of, you look like you're out in the clouds there. But yeah, we're all good, but you know, you might want to work on your video there. But
My video.
yeah, how are you this morning? We're just doing real quick introductions, Yvette. So you want to say hi? What's up?
So, good morning, everyone. Yvette McElroy Anderson. I am the Executive Director for Government Relations at Wayne County Community College District. Some of my favorite things to do is health and fitness, as well as mentoring young ladies between the ages of 6 and 18. Social justice advocate and lover of people and life.
I like that introduction. That's very nice. And I think 6 to 18, did you say, mentoring?
Yes, it's the Intone Johnny Training Institute. It's a program for mentoring young ladies that are 6 to 18.
Nice, very nice. So, and you're a health and fitness, so you must have Hermelinda as your coach then, is that what it is?
Hey, I heard that, and you know, I like to do hot yoga, Bikram yoga, as well as cross training.
Whew, okay. You might be in better shape than most of us, that's very good. And Theus, how are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Tejas Suvarna. I'm actually, I just graduated from the University of Michigan about 2.5 years ago now. And I found Leaders Connect on Eventbrite back in the day and have been loving coming to these meetings and enjoying them. So a little bit about me. I work at this digital health startup out of Ann Arbor. Actually, it's called Care Evolution over on Main Street. We're a healthcare data company, and my part in the puzzle is all about taking medical research studies digital through kind of a software platform that aggregates surveys and wearable data and electronic medical records. And
wow.
So that's been really cool. And because it's a small place, I feel like I'm also very much in the process of like, we're growing, a lot is changing. And Winston, your little pitch reminded me a lot about how the technology can get done, but it's all about the culture that's also changing at the same time. And I'm very much like in my own head right now about how to kind of keep people in sync with what all is changing, because there can be a lot of resentment when the communication isn't up to par.
Right.
But in general, love sports, love traveling. I'm actually spending now 6 months abroad. I'm in Lima, Peru right now. And so just kind of hopping around, trying to figure out what I like to do. Nice to meet everybody.
How great is that you could be traveling and doing your work at the same time? Man, if I could have been doing that at 23, that would have been fun, you know. So
if you figure out how to herd those cats, let me know. I'm always looking for the option, figuring how to do that.
I was going to think the only trip people were taking when I was 23 was with LSD. I think that was the extent of their travels. You know, I didn't do that, but you know, a lot of other people did. MB, you want to say hi?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm calling in from Toronto.
Oh, nice.
Canada. I'm definitely an interloper. I'm where art's at the heart, and working with and looking for those both old and new programs and leaderships that can help guide us forward in better ways that are applicable to the needs and concerns of the world today and moving forward.
So MB, I saw on LinkedIn you launched your new class. You might want to put a link in for people to take a look at that. So who's that class designed for?
I launched a new class.
Oh,
Oh
maybe
gosh,
not. Maybe you
not me.
linked into it. Maybe you linked into it. So yeah.
Yes, yeah, I do
Okay,
a
right.
lot of promotion of certain programs and I just promoting
Yeah.
some that are out there to better connect people together.
Yeah. And she's a aficionado of the arts and music particularly. So all kinds of good things. And we just met recently, so it's nice to do that. Let's see, Richard, are you there now? We're still having trouble connecting with Richard. Okay. How about Michelle? Just came on board. Oh, well, let's get started. Oh, Michelle, there you go. Are you on, Michelle? All right. Well, let's get started. It's a pleasure. I'm going to try to guide people today through creating a personal plan for yourself about the future, wherever you may be in your life, what you want to plan out. It's really about 5 years in the future. I mean, as you look back 5 years from now, 5 years ago, what year was that? 2017, and you think where you are today, and you think about, gee, a lot of things happened in this 5 years. Mainly COVID happened, and I'm sure other people, you've had losses, people have had grandchildren born, and the world has changed dramatically in 5 years. So if you try to plan out 5 years, I think you need to have a guide of where you want to be going, and also a flexibility adequately to know that as things change, you can adapt to it. I think people who have struggled most are people who are pretty inflexible. So Megan, can you put up the slide that we're going to use today? Or is it in the, yeah, you want to put it on the screen? And so what we're going to do, I'm going to walk people through a process. The first one is to get to know yourself. How do you get to be more self-aware? Somebody said to me yesterday, Rob, you're the most self-aware man I know. And I thought that was a compliment until I realized she said most men are really not self-aware at all. So to be self-aware, the most self-aware man isn't really a great thing compared to women in the world. So I thought, well, that's okay. So at least I'm registering on the market. But what does that mean to be self-aware? So I'm going to walk you through that process. That's the top of this diagram. And then on the bottom, we're going to be talking about setting goals. And that's really the most important part, because most of us who are on this call today are pretty self-aware. I'd say very self-aware. But then how do you take that understanding who you are as a person to then setting the appropriate goals for yourself? And I think that's very important. I'm a big person about goal setting. I try to set long-term goals, and then every month I review my goals in my little pocket book that I carry, which has a date. So every day I try to write something about how I'm doing toward my goal. And I also write at the front of it, what are my current goals? And it changes month to month, but overall it's kind of the same. So I'm going to be asking you to create a work goal, a personal goal about yourself, and then a health goal. So the personal goal is really, it does take in, of course, health, but it may be more of an achievement goal. It might be something like travel to Lima, Peru, for example. So kind of a dream of something you might want to do that it's not easy to get to. And I want to be sure to share those, because sometimes if we throw out the dreams, then we get help from other people about how to achieve that. You never know where help is going to come. So we're going to work, I'm going to talk about some of these things, then I'm going to put you into small groups of 3, and we're going to have you 6 minutes each to go through some of these. So what you're looking at here is a really a semester course or a 6-month coaching course. So we're going to be just doing a very quick overview of this. And if you want more detail about it, you could look into my books. One is called Self-Aware. Megan will post these on the chat. And that's a book it's written for students and for people who are going through coaching. And then there's another book called Tech Leadership 4.0, and that book is more for tech leaders. So Winston, you might be very interested in that because it's written specifically to help tech leaders, and I'm trying to actually create a group. David or Winston, you might want to help me with that group, but it's a group for tech leaders specifically about how to be good leaders and what's involved in trying to manage tech employees. So let's start with the first part. Well, actually, let me ask you to do a little exercise. Let us start with that, going down to your personal goal for 3 to 5 years. So if you look at the right side of this chart on the bottom, and you'll see personal goal for yourself. Does everybody see where I'm pointing? I can't really point with this, but yeah, there we go. Okay, thanks, Megan. So I'd like you to write down what is a sort of a dream goal for you? Something that is, like I say, go to Lima, Peru. One of mine is travel to Japan, which I might have the opportunity to do in November. Another might be start something. You know, I've talked to Marilyn the other day about maybe starting a leadership institute. So expanding Leaders Connect to have all kinds of offerings where people are offering groups and courses and things like that. So just think about that for yourself and write down what is sort of a stretch dream goal for yourself. And okay, now I'm going to ask you to, when we break into the small groups, to talk about that. Maybe we can actually, we have a small enough group that we might be able to do it for everybody. But the top of this idea, the personal leadership plan is really trying to create in your brain, your mind, who am I and where am I going? One of the things that I have found about this as a psychologist, I used to think that things were about 50-50 nature nurture in terms of how we become who we are. I have to say that over the course of my almost 50-year career now, I have tipped more toward the nature side of things. And I think we are who we are from a very early age, and we develop that who we are, but we're not going to change dramatically. That might feel a little strange for you to say because I'm a coach and I've been a therapist, but I don't see people making huge changes. What I do see is people understanding themselves and aligning themselves to relationships, to work, to a lifestyle that best fits who they are. And then also to create a team around you that helps you manage who you're not. So what I mean by that, I'll give you an example. David, who knows me probably best of this whole group, knows that I'm a very creative person, always coming up with ideas, and I make ideas happen. I bring people together to, just like we are today, to make things happen. And I've been doing that really since I was in high school in 1964, 63. Where I created a group like this in high school, at Ferndale High School in the Detroit area. So, but I know also that my blind spot is that I'm not well organized. And I need somebody, and in this case, I'm using Megan DeVries, who's my assistant, to help me stay organized. For example, to get these slides out, to get Eventbrite out. If I had to do all that stuff myself, I would be really struggling. But I've been able to hire people and rely on people who are very talented in this area to kind of cover my blind spot. And when I say it's a blind spot, I know it's a problem. I mean, for example, I use different methods of keeping track of things, and I change them all the time, and then I lose things because I change my system. And I think, well, this is a problem. I'm aware of it. Well, I was going through some old notes yesterday, and they go back to 1990. and it was journaling, and I read in the journal the same problem. Not, this is 30 years ago that I wrote, oh, I'm so besieged by this problem, and it's so difficult for me to keep myself organized. And I keep changing my systems and I keep losing things. And I thought, well, that problem hasn't gone away in 30 years. I spend probably a good hour a week looking for something that I don't know where I put it. And that's because usually I've changed where I put things and keep them. So that's a blind spot for me. So let's focus on that, because I think that most of you probably understand some of these other things. What are your strengths? What are your key relationships? What are your passions? What personality type you have? I'll go to that one in a few minutes, but let's just talk about blind spots right now. Blind spots, like I say, they're not exactly blind. I mean, but they're things that you don't see unless you really look. I mean, like if you think about when you're driving a car, you have blind spots. You look out and you miss something. Now the cars are trying to get technology on them, so they beep and tell you when you're about to pull out and somebody's beside you, or you're not recognizing that your eyes. One of these blind spots right now tells me in my Subaru when my eyes are not on the road. So the technology is trying to catch up with the people, but that's how the people use that technology. But we often don't have any way of really tracking what are our blind spots. So I'd like, as we develop the leadership plan, I think this is a really important area, is to recognize what are your blind spots, and then how do you manage them? And sometimes I think the management isn't necessarily that you change yourself, because it's hard to change ourselves, but it's building the right structures around you, the right team to help you with that. So let me just have you raise hands a little bit. What are some blind spots that you could be aware of? Megan, you can maybe take the slide off so we can see everybody at this point. Raise your hand if you think you might be able to recognize. Go ahead, Mary.
To some extent, I'm going to echo what you said, Dr. Pasick. Disorganization, that's something that I struggle with. And as a creative, maybe it's not that far off. But what's interesting is it's balanced by a desperate urge to organize. And I find that in part, that's what got me into graphic design. Information comes at me, and I find that I don't receive it well unless I put it into an orderly system. So it's both a blind spot, but maybe also a strength, which is probably the case with everybody's blind spots.
Well, I think that's a great example of adaptation too. So you're leveraging your strengths, which is you're a designer, you think creatively, but then you're putting structure on it in the way of a design. I mean, something that actually sits on the page and stays there. You might change it over time, but it's
yeah.
And I think for me it's a little bit the same thing, because I write books. I've written 9 books. So my creativity, even though I'm disorganized, when I put it into a book, it sits there. I mean, here's the book, it doesn't go away. And having to fit it into words, chapters, all that kind of thing helps me be focused. So I think that's a great example. Who else can identify a blind spot? Go ahead, Winston.
As a tech guy, I spent a career constantly being introduced to new information, and the tendency there is I can be distracted by it. So I'm constantly curious, always wanting to know, hey, what's this thing going to do? But have to really temper myself to relentlessly stay focused on the priorities and the value that it actually deliver versus the coolness factor. So to your point, I really try to work hard recognizing that, and getting back to, is this a priority?
Yeah. And how do you accomplish that? Do you have a system for doing that, or a process?
Well, first of all, it kind of gets back to that principle that while there's a really cool technology, what's the value of it to the process and the people that I'm working with? And I often find while there's a potential there, it's the really question of really evaluating the readiness of the organization to be able to absorb it. And, frankly, also the time and skills the time to build the skills to actually be effective with it. So I'm just relentless in putting in the framework of, okay, what's the immediate value? What's it going to take to do it? And is it now the appropriate time to do it?
Okay. So you've developed the process over the your
Yeah.
lifetime to do that. Okay.
Yeah, with plenty of scars along the way to help me hone that a little bit.
Well, we don't, one of the principles I've learned also, we are who we are, but also we learn by mistakes, and that life is a series of making mistakes and correcting it. And, that's how we evolved. I mean, we didn't get to be who we are today by design. It was by mistake by mistake, mutation by mutation that got us to where we are.
Yep.
Anybody else on the blind spot?
Yvette had her hand raised a minute ago.
Yvette had to sign off, I think. You right,
Nope,
Yvette?
I'm still here.
Oh, you're
I
here
am
then,
still
okay.
here.
All
Oh,
right.
yeah,
maybe you
till
had to sign off if you-
8:45.
All right, go ahead.
So-
So,
So the question is, what are my blind spots?
yeah, or you could just do one. I'm sure you don't have too many.
Yeah, I bet. So one of the blind spots is creating systems for organizing and managing information. That's one of my blind spots. And I like what you said about having people around you that help you manage the areas that are not your strong suits, if you will. So
Yeah.
I do try to do that in my leadership, in the sphere of my leadership. I try to have people that are good at organization, good at the details, because I'm the big picture person, the idea person. I'm good at building relationships, but the details might often get lost for me.
Yeah. So a lot depends on having the right people working for you, and they're in the right positions.
Yes.
Yeah. I like the concept from Jim Collins of who's on your bus and are they in the right seats? I mean, I think that's one of the principles I coach to all the time, because no matter what I try to get people to do, if they are in the right position, then that's great.
Yep.
And but if you have the wrong person on the bus, that could make the bus roll off the road pretty easily, and especially if
Yes.
the person's driving. So I like
Yes.
that idea. Let's see, who else do we have that
Hermelinda,
hand
Rob?
raised? Yeah. Hermelinda, who's next? Hermelinda?
Hi. So, I just everyone was talking. I was just jotting down some notes, and I feel like one of my blind spots is when it's kind of related to the environment that I'm in. If I show up in an environment where I don't really feel safe, or not really trusting of the people in that environment, I tend to kind of withdraw. But in other environments, I really flourish. Like when I feel supported and included, and I show up a totally different way. So I try to balance that with not being so guarded in an environment that I don't, feel exactly, I want to say, comfortable with. So that's something that I've been working on.
Okay. That's another principle of psychology that I like a lot. As I say, we are who we are, but we all have multiple parts of ourselves. And it's kind of like we're a little theater in our head where there's different people that get on stage at different times. And for Melinda, it's about somebody gets on stage in one environment that's very comfortable, very outgoing, but then another person may show up in an environment that's not, where she's not trustworthy. And is that correct? Did I get that about right?
Yeah, or I don't have a feeling of trust of others in that environment, and then I tend to kind of withdraw and not really I'm not at my best. I don't act in a way that I normally would act in an environment where I felt safe and trusting, I would say.
Yeah. And I would also add, that's a good point about not just work, but personal relationships. I mean, trust is a key thing in a family, and it could be destroyed between siblings, or worse is when it's destroyed between a couple, or a couple and children. But people really need to show up with trust, otherwise, and even one betrayal of that trust can really hurt a relationship. So that's a great principle to keep in mind. Very crucial. Yeah, I think Mary, that's who else is, or Larry. Let's go to Larry. Larry, welcome. Larry hasn't been on board for a while. Larry's a good old friend of mine. We've been friends for 30 some years. Larry Eiler.
All right, thank you, Bob. The one, Rob, the one thing that I have a problem with was voiced by Nike 20 or 30 years ago. Just do it. I get a thing that's an idea and I'm working on it. And yesterday's a good example. I was in the library working on this writing of a thing I'm doing. And my mind is going on 3 other things at once. And I'm thinking, I've got to stick to this thing. But I've had that problem for 30 years since Nike said, just do it. And so I try to just do 3 or 4 things at once, and I'm no good at that.
Yeah.
I'm good at doing one thing if I stick to it, but my stick to it level is 1 on a 10. And
Larry, I need to introduce you to a friend of mine. His name is Ian. And Ian stands for I am now. IAN.
oh, okay.
And I use that a lot when I write down, even on a little sticky note, I am now, and it could be anything. I'm now doing the dishes, or I'm now working on my book, because I have the same problem, Larry. I mean, I'll be working on something, and Winston, you're talking about technology. The bad side of technology is it's always interrupting. So I might be working on something and my phone dings, or I think about it. I'm listening to music in the background and I think, I don't like this song. I'm going to go to Spotify, and 15 minutes later, I found James Brown or whatever, and meanwhile, I'm off track. So try that, Larry. Try writing down, and then write the time. So Ian,
Okay.
let's say, what time is it? 8:41, and you're going to go to 8. You're going to go to 9 a.m. So that's what I mean by Ian. And that sometimes helps because I think, well, wait a minute, I'm not doing Spotify. I'm not answering a text. I'm trying to prepare for Leaders Connect on Friday morning.
Well, that's very helpful. Thank you very much, because I need an idea like that to focus on for a while and get myself used to doing it rather than flitting like a bee all over a new flower. So
I actually carry a little notebook and I try to write that down. But when you meet Ian, say hi for him from me, because sometimes I forget I forget about him myself. And
well, it's helpful for me to try. Thank you.
A lot of hands raised here. This is, I think, a popular topic. We're going to take one more and then we're going to jump to the other topic of your dream idea here. So Rob, what's your blind spot?
Yeah, my blind spot, I would say, is waiting until something is perfect before sending it out to the world, instead of just getting it good enough and doing it quicker and sending it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll work on a project for much longer than I should, just making sure everything is exactly the right way. Again, versus sending it out, getting feedback, constantly tweaking things to make it better. And so that I view that as a blind spot, and which takes up a lot of extra time. And because of that, don't get more things done or don't get more feedback.
Yeah.
So I've recognized that lately.
So if you wait till everything is perfect, you probably never sent anything out. Because
it can happen sometimes.
Always
somebody asking, hey, where is that? Where is that?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Sometimes you just got to get it out.
Megan and I work on sending out my Dr. Rob newsletter on Monday morning, and we go back and forth. I can't be perfected because it's got to go out before the end of the day. Sometimes you probably see you get it at 5 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock. But no matter how often we go back and forth, right, Megan, there's always a typo or something. We say, oh, that's not right. Neither of us picked it up. And that's true when you read a book. You can find things in a book. That book has been edited 100 times, but I dare you to go through a book and not find something. You go, oh, that doesn't look like the right spelling or the right. You want to comment on that, Megan?
I bet to say it's kind of hard, when you have a deadline and then you're working, to and from with other tasks at hand. So definitely things do get misstepped, but we're only human. So mistakes are going to happen along the way. you just gotta accept it and move on.
I always like that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think Patton said the mediocre plan executed is better than the perfect plan on the board.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I really think that somebody has a picture of space. I think it's David behind you. Is that from the Hubble or from the James
That's
Webb?
from the Webb.
Yeah.
This is
And
what Dr. Z talked about the last time he was on your program.
Dr. Zarukin, yeah.
Who is
But
leaving NASA, by the way.
I heard he's leaving NASA. I just
But
talked
this,
to him.
you know, he probably wrote 2 of those letters, one if Webb succeeded and one if it failed.
True. And what I wanted to say about, you know, the world, we're only human, but all the research says we may be unique in this whole effing universe because, you know, there may not be other life. So being only human is being pretty special. So we are human, we are special, but we're not perfect because we're always making mistakes and always changing. But that's how the world evolves. So, you know, you can think of everything in that light. Well, I'm going to move to this other topic. And time is flying by faster. That's again one of my blind spots is I never put in enough time so I say, well, we're going to break into small groups, and then here we are 2/3 of the way through, and we haven't broken into small groups, but I think it's a small enough group that it really benefits from us hearing from one another. So let's talk about that point again about what is your personal goal that's kind of a stretch goal or a dream goal, something you maybe been really hoping will happen, but it takes a long term to make it happen. Let's throw some of those out and see if we might be able to also help each other, because that's one of my other things about this plan. It's no good if it's a plan if it's only in your notebook or only on your computer. It's got to be something that you're sharing with other people that can make it happen. You're not going to ever be able to make it happen by yourselves. We're not. And that's another myth, I think, that we are individuals. Well, we're not individuals. We're always members of some kind of a system and team, whether we like it or not. And that's where things are going to really happen, is among those group of people. Like, and sometimes it's very virtual. Like Larry and I have teamed up on things, helped each other along, but we've never really worked together. David and I, the same thing. We've over 20 some years have really helped each other at different points, but we've never even done a project together, I think, David. But, but we certainly are there as a team for one another. And when we get stuck, we call each other. So let's, who has something there? What did you write down on that sheet? Let's see if we can share some of those. And then if what I want to do is people throw these things out. And then if you have an idea about how to move along, help that person move along with their dream thing here, you could post it in the chat, and maybe they're say, well, I want to introduce you to Thomas Zerbukin. He's at NASA, and your dream is to work at NASA. Well, here's Thomas. You better reach him before Christmas because he's leaving, but he will answer your email. Thomas, Maryland. He spends a lot of time in the UP. I think he's a provost or on the board at Northern. He used to be.
That's correct. Yeah.
So who's got something?
I'm sorry, was this a personal or a work goal, Robert?
It could be either. But it's a stretch dream goal. It's something that, really you think, wow, I don't know if I could do this, but and I really don't know how, but it's out there. It's something I really would love to do, either with your work or David, you raise your hand, or you just scratching your chin?
I could do either.
Okay.
I have a personal goal that was inspired by visiting my grandson of taking gap year within the next 3 to 5 years and living in Germany and being a hands-on grandpa for a while. And I want to spend some time in Boston, where I have a niece and nephew. I want to spend some time in Pittsburgh, but I want to just, it's almost like a Schmitte year.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's a Yiddish thing. The challenge here is that
I've heard of a schmata, but I've never heard of a schmitte.
Oh, okay. No, retirement is like a step function. It's a big cliff to climb. And I think the gap year, what some of my students have done in order to ease their transitional periods between the stages in their life and development, I could take a note from their book and try that myself.
Sounds great.
Sounds awesome.
It's a little bit like a sabbatical, but you know, at a point in life when you're thinking about what the next step. David, Mike Cole and I are putting together a group that might be beneficial. It's kind of like those people who are in between and are, you know, not quite retired, but they have another quarter to play or whatever, but they're not sure what they want to do playing it. So, you know, let's talk about that as participating in that group.
That'd be a great idea. Thank you.
Okay. That's one of my ideas. Anybody else? David, the other David, I think you were scratching your chin too, and you have to sign off, David. So why don't you throw it out there? David Whitinger.
So my wife and I have been working on this for a while, but it's a personal and a work goal. So we have a dream of having several small businesses that can kind of run themselves, and it's our retirement plan. I've seen a lot of people who have retired and not done anything, and it's not really been a healthy situation. And frankly, that's one of those things that scares me to death is retiring and not doing anything, going from 70 miles an hour to nothing. So that's part of the reason we do office evolution. It's something that we could actually take to other areas. So what we really hope to do is maybe have a couple different places where we go, have some businesses that kind of run themselves, but need us to do it. And we're already kind of working on it. So that's like the 3 to 5 year out goal.
David, just an idea popped in my head for you, and that is you should do an office evolution in Pinckney. I don't know why I say Pinckney, but or Dexter. I don't know if there's any out, but Dexter's not that far, but there's a lot of people working remotely in communities outside of Ann Arbor that need a place to go, you know, and there's a lot of places in Ann Arbor to do that, but I don't think when you get outside of the boundaries of the city, there's opportunities, but there's a lot of people that are commuting into Ann Arbor that probably would like the opportunity to be able to go to an office. They don't want to work from home totally. So think about some of those outlining areas, just small spaces. Who else has their hand up there?
I do.
Marilyn?
So mine is the same. I just retired, and I did do some of my bucket list stuff during COVID. But I find that it's really easy to get distracted by a whole number of things when you're retired, you know, especially if you're a person who has a lot of interest. And I've decided that I'm actually better if I focus on something and I get really committed to it. So although I want to spend a month someplace different every March or April, like Portugal or Texas or, you know, Costa Rica, that I can accomplish. It's finding that one thing that's flexible enough to really get committed to. So that's my goal, is to find it. Yeah.
Marilyn, I was hoping we talked. I was really excited about our talk, because maybe that could be within Leaders Connect, and that would be great for me if you would be grace my plan and try to help me along with that. Do it collaboratively. Let's talk about small worlds, by the way. Next week, Marilyn and I are doing the same thing. And how about this? We're both going to New York City to spend a week with our grandchildren. So, you know, pretty rare. Mine are 6 and 8, and yours 2 years, was that what you said?
Yep, 2 years old, and so much fun.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see, who else? Melinda, you had your hand raised.
So mine is kind of a personal goal. So we are working on and would like to build our first home. We've never built a home before, but we already have acquired a property. And if I could take my current home, it's not exactly what I want, and set it on this property, it would be great. So our idea, we're very holistically minded. We like to be outdoors. So we have an area where we can shoot our bows. I can take walks in the woods, you know, so that's kind of the lifestyle that I'm working towards, is kind of pulling back, being a little more intimate with nature, and spending a lot of time doing the activities that I love. So I don't know when it's going to happen with the market the way it is, but we're working on it.
Yeah, you can't, you have a date in mind? I mean, it's always good. I think when you set these goals, it's always good to put a date, like by such and such a date, because there's always going to be some fluctuation in the market or interest rates, or you can't wait for those things, so.
Yeah, so we're looking at next year. So we have more time to think about it, and we're exploring options and getting things into place. So
Sounds good. Let's keep going. I want to show you guys an exhibit here. I just realized I had this sitting here, but this is a metal box, and it was purchased, I want to say 1968. So it makes it a fairly old box, very sturdy. The metal holds together nice. And in this is index cards. 3x5 index cards. I'll pull one out here. I don't know what I come up with, but and this is where I write down my goals. And why I say, Melinda, the importance of putting a goal with dates on it is that it again programs your mind. Goal setting is a lot about software. You set the software and it wants to know what's it supposed to do. I mean, going back to what Winston said, software is only good if we use it to the people use it. But I try to write down like this goal was written in 03, not 1903, but 2003. And the goal is, I just picked this out at random, to get 6 major speaking engagements, paying at least $5,000 each. And I wrote that down, and I put a date by that. So it was 1903. I said 20,003. I was thinking.
Oh, you look really good for your age.
Not quite that old. Although Melinda, when you said bow and arrow, it reminded me of one of my early clients, which was in 150 AD, when I worked with some clients who were trying to find a place to shoot their bow and arrow also. That worked out pretty well. But anyway, the idea is when you write a goal, and this is on that sheet of paper, it's important to say what the goal is, why you're writing it. This is all talking to your brain. This is where we're going. This is why we're going there. This is how we're going to get there. And the how sometimes isn't necessarily specific. It's a plan. It's a broad plan. It gets more and more specific. And then why is it important? Because your brain wants to know, well, why are we going here? Why do you want to do speaking engagements, Rob? And I said, well, I enjoy getting in front of an audience. And actually, why $5,000? Well, that's what I think I'm worth. That's what I thought I was worth in 2003. So it would go up now. It's interesting in that particular goal, because I've kind of gotten off of that goal. And why I got off that goal is I realized I really don't like speaking to audiences of people I don't know. I like speaking to audiences of people that I'm going to have a relationship with, but just getting up and being a talking head in front of the association of something that I don't know, and I'm never going to see those people again, that's not so much fun for me. I do like leading workshops where people are growing, but not just speaking like, some of these public speakers that you hear. Anybody else? I'm blabbing too much. This is supposed to be for your time. Anybody else want to share their longer term goal?
I'll go if that's okay.
Are you out there? Richard Root, still trying to find you? Must just be listening and not on board. Richard Root and I went to high school together, so that's why I'm trying to contact him.
Rob's got his hand up.
Yeah.
Rob? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. They say that, work shouldn't be a job, and that should really be your passion. And I really like to blend the two together because I enjoy what I do so much. And I would love, since we're in real estate development, and I have a lot of different hobbies and passions, I'd love to combine things in terms of traveling the world, seeing what people are doing in other countries, in cities, in terms of creating amazing spaces for companies to utilize. That Metro Detroit has always really lagged So really seeing what people are doing out there to push the boundaries of how people work, where people work, why people work, and bringing those to Metro Detroit, and even pushing the boundaries further here so that people are visiting us in Ann Arbor saying, oh my gosh, this is what you're doing. We need to do that. But then while I'm traveling, visit that, coffee, plantation of the coffee that I love. Go drive on the Autobahn because I love cars. Visit that speaker manufacturer who's in London, who's making unbelievable hi-fi speakers because I love listening to music. So just combining the traveling and food and passions and real estate and kind of merging that all together would be amazing.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I was thinking about that with Detroit, Rob, that if I think about going to Detroit, I don't know where I could go hang out in Detroit. I mean, to go there with just, I love to go different places in Ann Arbor to just work and hang out. I don't like to work at home. But if I think about Detroit, I don't know where to go. So if you know a place, let me know, because
Detroit's amazing, Birmingham, Ann Arbor, we have great cities, but our real estate could be a little better.
Yeah. Well, if you know any good spots to just spend the afternoon working and meeting people in Detroit, I get Birmingham, I get all that. I grew up in that area, but Detroit is some place I want to get back to. I'm ambivalent about it because I've got positive and negative memories. I remember too much of the downturn of Detroit and the riots and things like that. And I want
It's
to get
important
back
to remember all the history. That's an important part of Detroit. And
Jan's
then
telling me
looking at
tech
where things
town.
are headed is also important.
Jan, you say tech town. I know there is space in tech town there to do that, but I think of that as a little bit more too formal for me. But I mean, not formal, but it's just like it's a tech area. I want a coffee shop. I want a good coffee shop. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up. I know a lot of people have hard stops at 9, and I really appreciate people being part of this. If you have any ideas as you hear people's dreams, you could send me an email. I'll post about that. I might post something about this on Monday, talking about what we did today. And thank you all for coming. And please, if you want to follow up more on this plan, we just sort of touched the surface of it. Feel free to call me, and I'm happy to work with you on it. And actually, maybe create a small group around it to just continue to work on this plan. So anyway, ciao. Talk to y'all later, and have a great weekend.